Welcome to Mystery Files, where we take a deep dive into cases that span from the creepy to the truly bizarre and everything in between. I'm Ryan, and today I'll be forcing my colleague Shane to revisit the case of the elusive D.B. Cooper. And in the end, you'll have to decide if the mystery is solved or if it's simply a mystery. D.B. Cooper again, our guy.
I feel like there's been updates about this in the past decade.
What makes you think that?
For a while there, you know, people always on Twitter are like, they found him.
Yeah.
They got him. So yeah, I'm excited to hear the latest, outside of whatever people have been tweeting at me for the past 10 years that I don't pay attention to.
I'm just gonna say it up top. This is my favorite unsolved mystery of all time. Unless, of course, we've solved it. And at the end, I guess you're just gonna have to watch till the end of the video.
I guess you have to watch the whole thing.
Look at,
oh my God, there he is. Well, there's a little tease.
Look at him.
Oh, no, look at him.
Now look at him again.
There's a guy again.
On the afternoon of November 24th, 1971, a man in his mid-40s wearing a business suit, brown shoes, white shirt, and black tie boarded Northwest Orient Airlines flight number 305 from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. At that time, it was normal for people to dress up to fly, so he fit right in. The only thing that made him stand out was his dark wraparound sunglasses. Carrying his dark briefcase and a 4-inch by 12-inch by 14-inch paper bag, the man took seat 18C in the back of the plane. Having paid $20 in cash, the name on his ticket was Dan Cooper.
When they say wraparound, do they mean like Bono?
I'm not sure.
We know he's not Bono.
I think maybe like Toad from X-Men when he had those, they were like goggles
Oakleys.
almost, like, you
Some
know,
cool
like
Oakleys.
I guess it would make sense that he would be wearing wraparounds if he's gonna jump out of a plane.
Yes.
That never occurred to me until right now, somehow.
Well, you.
To be fair, it didn't occur to you either.
No.
It did not occur to you either.
No, it didn't.
I would let the record
it
show it did not occur to you either.
It didn't occur to me. I'll level with you. It didn't occur to me.
Shortly after the plane's 3 p.m. takeoff, Cooper handed stewardess Florence Schaffner a note. Believing he was just flirting with her, she put the note away until the man told her, quote, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb," end quote. Pulling the note from her pocket, it read, quote, "I have a bomb in my briefcase, plus want you to sit by me."
This guy's a real Casanova.
That's right. She saw that and her cheeks turned red. She was like, ooh.
I do like that she...
So you do want me to sit by you.
This is probably the life of a stewardess in the 1970s, just assuming everyone's flirting with you. These fucking men.
They probably handed them some crazy shit.
Yeah.
This is probably the most romantic note she's gotten.
Bomb included.
This is how I met Mari.
You sent her a note.
I gave her a note that said, "I have a bomb in my briefcase, plus want you to sit by me." As Schaffner took her seat next to him, he opened his briefcase, unveiling 6 red sticks of dynamite connected by wires to a large battery. Cooper told her to write down what he was saying and take it to the captain. He said, quote, "I want $200,000 by 5 p.m. in cash. Put it in a knapsack. I want 2 back parachutes and 2 front parachutes. When we land, I want a fuel truck ready to refuel. No funny stuff, or I'll do the job," end quote.
One of the best to ever do it.
They're gonna land it, and then they're gonna give him the money, and then
take back off.
Take back off, and then he's gonna go, woo!
Yes. Okay, great.
And as always, the iconic, no funny stuff, or I'll do the job. I've always wondered where Stephen Lim got that, because he does say that every morning when he walks into the office.
No funny stuff, or I'll do the job. Yeah, he says that a lot. He's got that giant tattoo on his back.
That's true, and I guess this is where he got it from.
Yeah.
After the pilot called in the demands, the airline and the FBI scrambled to find a solution. What was usually only a 30-minute flight circled for 2 hours, as the cash was collected from multiple banks along with the parachutes. The FBI desperately tried to find any Dan Cooper in their files, but nothing came up. Despite the delay, most of the 36 passengers had no idea of the danger they were in. Everybody was calm, including Cooper, who sat in the back chain smoking and ordered 2 more bourbons with lemon lime soda.
Again, cigarettes.
Hold that thought. Could I please have a bourbon and soda, please?
And
lime. And lemon lime soda. And what?
Some cigarettes.
I don't smoke cigarettes. You can give the cigarettes to him.
Give me a whole carton of cigarettes so I can chain smoke.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Oh.
I brought you one as well.
This is the DB Cooper special?
Yes. Wait, is this actually bourbon?
Yes! For the record, we're shooting this at 8 in the morning. Well, let's try it.
That's bourbon, all right. It tastes pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
It's mostly Sprite. It'd be better if it was Squirt.
Finally, the plane landed at Seattle-Tacoma Airport at 5:45 p.m. Surrounded by snipers, Cooper had the crew close the window shades. When the money and parachutes were brought on board, Cooper let everybody off, except for the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and 1 attendant. It is kind of nice that he was like, all right, everyone get off the plane.
That's sweet of him.
Get off the
Here's
plane.
the thing, he's a sweet guy.
Like, no one hurt here. A victimless crime,
He's a
essentially.
humanitarian, burglar, con man, thief of the sky. What's his deal? I don't know what we would call him.
I mean, the only person who
Criminal.
got harmed in this, honestly, is probably him.
Yeah.
When he got speared by a pine tree.
Right. Spoilers.
Who knows? I'm just kidding. Maybe he didn't get speared by a pine tree. I have no idea. Noticing a delay in the refueling process, Cooper demanded that the plane take off and to make sure it stayed under 10,000 feet. At 7:40 p.m., Cooper and the crew of Flight 305 left Seattle. Instructing the crew to stay in the cockpit, Cooper told Captain Scott to head to Mexico City. Scott told Cooper they didn't have enough fuel to make it. So, Cooper agreed to land in Reno. While en route, Cooper used the cord from one of the parachutes to tie the money bag shut, removed his tie, and then jumped out of the aft staircase with 2 parachutes, the money, the letter he gave the flight attendant, and the bomb into the stormy night below. Everyone knows most of what's happened here. He hijacks the plane, gets the cash, jumps out of the plane. What happens to DB Cooper after that? A question I had myself. And I thought, how much control do you actually have when you're skydiving? Now, I've been skydiving before, but I was strapped to another instructor. So I didn't really get an idea of how hard it is to control myself in the air. So I thought to myself, and I said, hey, Ryan, think to yourself.
Do you have to say that every time you think a thought?
I have to talk to my brain like Google Home. So I did a little experiment myself. It's an interesting freeze frame. This looks like a horrible music video. As you all know, DB Cooper jumped out of a plane, skydived, perhaps to his death, and we wanted to test to see if I could have control in the sky. Obviously, we couldn't put me in an actual plane and make me skydive, so we did the next best thing, which was indoor skydiving. So we're gonna do that. It's either gonna test my control, or at the very least, it'll look very stupid.
Look at you go! It's gonna blow you away! Whoa!
I have to say, based on that experience, this guy's dead as hell.
Yeah.
Because the lack of control that was apparent when I was in this suck tube or air tube or whatever.
Yeah.
I had no control. The amount of force that was being generated to push my arms up, I had to really concentrate on just trying to keep my body straight.
Is it so strong that you're like...
Yeah, no, literally, I had a shoulder injury recently. They
Yeah.
made me sign a waiver that said it was okay that I had a shoulder injury because I could see how this dislocates people's shoulders. I mean, look at that face right there. Does that look like the face of a man in control?
No.
And the thing is, he wasn't trained, or at least they believe he wasn't trained.
Yeah.
Not a lot of training, stormy night.
Scary.
This was a worthy experiment.
And this was scary for you.
This was scary for me.
This was scary.
It was scary. I mean, look at my face. Before the plane had even landed, the FBI had launched their investigation into the Northwest hijacking case, NORJAC for short. When the plane landed at Reno Tahoe International Airport, the FBI immediately began their search. They found 66 fingerprints, a black tie and tie clip belonging to Cooper, 2 of the parachutes, 8 Raleigh cigarette butts, and a hair sample perceived to be Cooper's. This kicked off one of the biggest manhunts in US history. Beginning near Mount St. Helens, searching in a large mountainous and heavily wooded area covered in winter conditions proved difficult. After the first day, they expanded the search to Lake Merwin, Yale Lake, and other surrounding areas. But there was no trace of Cooper. While reaching out to the press, it's believed somebody mistakenly called him DB Cooper instead of Dan. Once DB was published, the name stuck. In the years following, letters that ranged from confessions to eulogies for Cooper were sent to publications. Some were hoaxes, while others the FBI took seriously. The FBI released the serial numbers on the cash to every final institution, casino, and business with large cash transactions in the country. None of the bills were found in circulation until 1980. When 8-year-old Brian Ingram was building a campfire at Tina Bar on the banks of the Columbia River. Ingram later recalled, quote, "I took my arm and I raked it along the sand, and then I felt something fluffed up in the sand," end quote. It was $5,800 in $20 bills. The FBI checked the serial numbers on the degraded dollars. It was Cooper's all right. Unfortunately, when they searched the area, they didn't find any more of the money or leads to how it got there, or most importantly, where Cooper went.
If I were Dan, I would take a chunk of that money that I got and I'd leave it somewhere so people would think that I died.
That's good.
$200,000.
In the 70s, adjusted for inflation, do we have that?
You want me to look it up?
No, you just put your fingers to your head like you normally do and you could get it. Sometimes it takes them a while.
As of today, I think that would be $765,293.69.
That's crazy how you could do that. It's actually not that much money. That's not.
It's a fair amount.
I mean,
for
but it's
jumping
not like,
out of a plane.
It's not the amount that I would want if I'm gonna jump out of a plane and be set for life. You'd have
I
to,
guess for becoming, maybe the most wanted mystery man in America, you would want more money than that.
Even though they had little information on where Cooper went, the FBI continued their hunt, developing several theories of who the man behind the sunglasses was. And now, let's develop some of our own. It's corkboard time. Let's get into the theories. Now, as you'll notice here, there are 2 rows. There's a row for theories, and there's a row for suspects.
Oh.
This is like a 2-parter for the corkboard.
A double corker.
What happened to him? Who was he? Theory 1, he died in the jump. In 2016, the FBI announced they had closed the case due to lack of new evidence or leads. Their website stated, quote, "Perhaps Cooper didn't survive his jump from the plane. After all, the parachute he used couldn't be steered, his clothing and footwear were unsuitable for a rough landing, and he had jumped into a wooded area at night. A dangerous proposition for a seasoned pro, which evidence suggests Cooper was not," end quote. But without a body or a parachute, this remains as merely a theory.
You can't say case closed when they're just like, we don't know what happened. Case closed. That's not how that works.
I do like how the FBI is like, we can't figure out who it was. He probably died, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's basically what they just said. They're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter who he was because he's dead. Though this kind of looks like a ghost in the woods.
It looks like you're saying no ghosts.
No ghosts. No ghosts allowed on this set. Theory 2, he lived a quiet life. While the FBI received dozens, if not hundreds of letters claiming to either be from Cooper or somebody who knew his identity, they dismissed most as hoaxes. However, there was a handful of letters sent within weeks of the heist that the FBI retained in their file. The first was received a mere 5 days after the heist on November 29th, 1971. It had been sent to the Reno Evening Gazette. made with cutout letters from the Sacramento Bee. It simply said, quote, "Attention, thanks for the hospitality, was in a rut," end quote. It was signed by D.B. Cooper. One day later, the Vancouver province in British Columbia received a letter supposedly from Cooper which claimed, quote, "The composite drawing on page 3 does not represent the truth. Am leaving Vancouver, thanks for the hospitality," end quote.
If I were an adult at this time, I would send letters to the FBI.
Why would you do that?
For fun.
But it's gonna mess up the investigation. It's gonna make it
Because I
harder
wanted
for
to get
them.
away with it, really.
Yeah, what clever thing would you write?
I'd say, "It's me, Dan Cooper. Gotcha. Bye."
That's what you would do? I'm sure
I'm sure I'd have fun with it. I'd probably think of something better than that. Maybe a nice long one, I don't know. But I'd like to fuzz the radar a little bit if I could. Who's to say I'm not doing this now with current crimes, you know?
I hope not.
I'm not doing that.
That's
I'm
obstruction of justice.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I'm not doing that.
And we're all about justice. On December 1st, the Portland Oregonian received a note using Playboy cutouts arranged to say, quote, "Am alive and doing well in hometown. P.O. the system that beats the system," end quote. Mailed the same day, the Reno Evening Gazette received a 4th letter that read, quote, "Plan ahead for retirement income," end quote. As the FBI continued to sift through clues in the letters, whoever was sending those letters seemed to be living the good life. That's kind of fun to commit a crime, steal all that money from the government, and then get drunk and write letters to them, thumbing your nose at them.
They can't all be from him. Maybe none of them are. But why would he send multiple letters to them?
Because it's funny.
At that point, he's just taunting them. And he doesn't seem like a guy who taunts. He seems like a guy who wants to vanish with his money.
I mean, he kind of seems like a guy who taunts. He dressed up in like sunglasses and a suit and drank on the job while he robbed them.
Yeah, but I think that was just nerves.
He seemed cool.
Chain smoking, that's a nervous habit.
Back in that time, that seems like just like a Monday or something like that.
Maybe.
Or in this case, a Wednesday.
I don't know. I'm trying to, suss out his character. I don't think he would have written letters.
Theory 3, he survived the heist, but was terminally ill. In late 2017, thanks to a Freedom of Information Act request from documentary filmmaker Thomas Colbert, the FBI released 2 letters suggesting that Cooper lived, but stole the money to ease his final days. One of these letters had been of particular interest to the FBI, as it contained information not available to the public. Barely 2 weeks after the heist, the Los Angeles Times and other papers received a manifesto, supposedly from Cooper on December 11th, 1971. It opens, quote, "I knew from the start that I wouldn't be caught. I didn't rob Northwest Orient because I thought it would be romantic, heroic, or any other euphemisms that seem to attach themselves to situations of high risk," end quote. He claims the reasons he would never be caught were that he didn't leave fingerprints, wore a toupee, and disguised his appearance with putty face makeup. Taunting the investigation, the letter continues, quote, "They could add or subtract from the composite 100 times and not come up with an accurate description, and we both know it. I've come and gone on several airline flights already," end quote. But near the end, he unveils his fate, claiming, quote, "Unfortunately, I do have only 14 months to live. My life has been one of hate, turmoil, hunger, and more hate. This seemed to be the fastest and most profitable way to gain a few fast grains of peace of mind," end quote. On the second letter, there was a signature, but the FBI redacted it upon release. I mean, that is compelling. Also, the motive is a little more clear here. You have only a certain amount of time to live. Why not?
Why not?
Why not steal some cash?
If I had 14 months, I would do this.
Honestly,
I would do it.
I think I might too.
Do you think the face putty is easy to spot? I feel like someone with face putty, you clock that, right?
Yeah. I
See
feel
how,
like
you know skin, you know how skin moves.
I feel like if you walked in with face putty, I'd be like, "What's with the face putty?
Right.
What's going on with your fucking face?"
I'd like to try that sometime though.
Theory 4. He continued hijacking planes. The Norjack case was just the beginning of a spree of plane hijackings. From December 24th, 1971 to July 13th, 1972, 14 different men attempted to repeat Cooper's heist. Many of their requests were similar to Cooper's, but included handy items like machetes, helmets, and jungle boots.
I did not know this caused a wave of Cooper fever.
Well, I mean, you in this episode alone said, I would do this.
I would do it.
I would write letters.
I'd be like, he's on to something.
You would see this in the news and be like, I'm going to do that.
I mean, if you do it right, you know, it's a cool thing to do. Nobody's harmed. You let everybody off the plane.
Yeah.
You jump out. Maybe you die.
It is really funny that the other people who tried to replicate it, though, did ask for much more pragmatic and just items.
Yeah.
He asked for 2 bourbon and sodas.
I know. Let me get drunk before I jump out of this thing.
And was in a fucking suit like he was in the Men in Black. Everyone else was like, I'll take some jungle boots, a machete, a helmet. A majority of the attempts ended with an arrest on board the plane, but 5 actually made the jumps from the planes. Each one was apprehended within days, some even hours, of having survived the jumps, proving Cooper could have had the same success. They each were imprisoned for decades for their crimes, but that did not stop them from being suspects in the Cooper case. Which is a great little segue to the suspects. Who was Dan Cooper? Now, we are revisiting a couple from BuzzFeed Unsolved, but we do have some new updates. So,
New guy.
with the amount of similarities to these cases, each of the 5 men have been looked into as possible suspects, though they're just a drop in the bucket. Overall, there have been more than 800 suspects considered over the first 5 years of the investigation. Today, the FBI claims that all but 2 suspects have been eliminated. While they have not named the 2 current suspects, it has not stopped people from searching for his identity. Suspect 1. Vince Peterson. Back in 2007, citizen sleuths had just used an electron microscope to discover north of 100,000 particles on DB Cooper's tie, including metals utilized in Boeing. Since then, Eric Ulis, the founder of the largest social media group dedicated to the DB Cooper mystery and an expert on the case, unveiled that the tie Cooper left behind contained a unique particle that was part stainless steel and part titanium. He traced it to the Crucible Steel of Pennsylvania, the main supplier of titanium and stainless steel for Boeing's aircrafts in the 60s. Contacting Crucible Steel, Ulis was able to discover that only 8 researchers worked on those specific metal type projects at the time. One of those employees matched Cooper's description: Vince Peterson, who regularly traveled to the Pacific Northwest on business. Ulis claims, quote, "I could put him in Seattle. I could put him at Boeing. He's a compelling person of interest. He's definitely someone I'm going to continue to dig into," end quote. Ulis has spent years attempting to get the FBI to turn over the tie to him so he can acquire DNA to prove Peterson's guilt. In early 2024, he made his latest appeal with the help of Peter's daughter, Julie Dunbar, who wants to refute Peterson's accusations, stating, quote, "Something like this is just so far out of his character. Eric's story is very compelling, I'll give him that, but it does not change my point of view that my dad was not DB Cooper," end quote. Ulis is still waiting to hear on the status of the tie to get his answers. Vince Peterson, who you can tell, does bear a striking resemblance to DB Cooper. Now, we are waiting for the tie to be turned over.
He parts his hair on the other side. Next.
We are waiting for the tie to be turned
He's got a
over.
bigger mouth, too. And look at the size of that
Well, I'll
chin.
tell you who has a big mouth.
Who, me? I actually have quite a small mouth.
You do actually have a pretty small mouth.
Really small. I have a hard time eating peanuts, even.
I haven't
Did
either.
you say there's a whole group dedicated to solving this mystery?
That's right.
Get a fucking life.
We're on a show talking about
Yeah,
this.
but we don't spend all our free time doing this.
I mean, we spent a lot of time putting this together.
The guy nailed it. It's been 50 years. If I were DB Cooper, I'd be so annoyed. I'd be like, just go get a hobby.
Suspect 2, Richard Floyd McCoy. When we last covered the case on BuzzFeed Unsolved, Richard Floyd McCoy was a favorite subject within the FBI. He was one of the 5 plane hijackers that successfully escaped after their jumps. After a tip from a family member said that McCoy was bragging that he'd come up with a foolproof plan for hijacking a plane and that DB Cooper should have asked for more money, he was arrested.
So he is a suspect, but he was also saying that DB Cooper did it wrong.
That's what I'm saying, so it's like,
Unless he was just trying to fuzz the radar a bit.
you are a fuzzer. You like fuzzing that radar.
I will say his silhouette and his sort of facial features do match the sketch a lot more. And he is parting his hair on the correct side.
Yep, that's true. You know, you could use just a comb away from doing that. But I'll give you the face looks much more candy corn shaped.
Yeah.
They recovered all but $30 of the $500,000 he had escaped with. Spending 45 years in Lewisburg Penitentiary, he became known as the Mormon Hijacker.
You Mormon?
Yes, he was very Mormon. He taught Mormon Sunday school and he studied law at BYU. So.
I guess that would also explain the suit. They wear a lot, you know?
Oh, yeah. He just took his Sunday school outfit. Also, though, if he's Mormon, D.B. Cooper knocking back some bourbon sodas.
Oh, shit, you're right. They don't do that.
Maybe that's fuzzing the radar. He's like, I'm going to have my first drink on this plane.
Oh, and he's like...
And then that's why he jumped out of the plane and was like, oh! 2 years into his sentence, McCoy fashioned a fake handgun from dental paste and escaped prison with 3 other inmates. But months later, he was killed in a shootout with police. McCoy is the only suspect named on the FBI website about the hijacking, where they state that he was eliminated because he didn't match the physical descriptions of Cooper provided by the flight attendants, though many argue this point. His alibi for Norjack seemed airtight. McCoy was home in Provo, Utah with his family for Thanksgiving. But on February 2nd, 2024, McCoy's son, Rick McCoy III, unveiled that for the last year, he had been in infrequent communication with the FBI. After Rick's mother's death in 2020, he decided to step forward, claiming that not only had his mom told Rick and his sister that their father was D.B. Cooper, but that she had helped plan both heists. She had even drove him to the airport for the second. How would your opinion of your father change if your mom said, you know, your dad was D.B. Cooper? Cooler? Less cool? More respect? Less respect?
The way he carried it out was kind of dorky, so, you know.
Really? I thought it was pretty cool.
I don't know.
He wore a suit, he had 2 bourbons and sodas, he chain smoked at the back of an airplane, jumped out wearing the suit.
Yeah, but he strikes me as sort of a milady kind of guy, you know?
Not really. Even when he had the chance to charm a woman, he said, sit down, I have a bomb.
Yeah,
that's the opposite
look,
of my lady.
I'm just picking up vibes, okay?
I think you're picking up the wrong vibes.
I think it would sort of level out. I wouldn't necessarily respect my father more or less.
That's actually an enormous compliment to your dad, I think.
Yeah.
His coolness would not be upped by him being D.B. Cooper.
Hey, my dad's, you know, a great guy.
All right. Refuting the alibi, Rick claims his father was not home that Thanksgiving. There are credit card statements showing his dad in Portland, Oregon before Norjack. The day after, McCoy was within a day's drive of the area Cooper jumped. That Christmas, Rick remembers his dad suddenly being flush with cash, believing he laundered the money in Vegas on his route home. Within months of talking to the FBI, Rick McCoy discovered an old parachute he believes came from the Cooper heist in a storage unit. Cooper's missing parachute has long been considered a key piece of missing evidence. Rick turned it over to the FBI, who are yet to authenticate it.
What are they doing?
I don't know. What are they doing?
What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, just put that
When
shit
did he give
under
it
a
to him?
microscope and be like, yeah, that's him. Unclear when he actually turned the parachute over to the FBI, but we do know that he worked with the FBI and came forward in the year 2020. Maybe the parachute got lost in transit, you know, COVID shipping times, something like that.
Sure. I get a move on.
Get a move on that. It's been 4
Wrap it up.
years.
People get excited to hear about this, you know? Get
Even
the
if you
FBI
gave the
alone.
parachute to them a month ago, where is my yes or no?
Oh,
What the hell was that?
that was my pen cat.
Now with the parachute, the FBI seemed to ramp up the case. Rick explained their next steps as, quote, after I surrendered the parachute, they asked me, do you really want to see this thing get solved? And of course I do. So they said, well, give us your DNA then. I had to think about it because I wasn't super thrilled about them having my DNA, but eventually agreed to. They told me that considering all the publicity around this case at the moment, it would be prioritized, end quote. McCoy is one of the few prominent Cooper suspects not to have been officially eliminated by DNA. My hunch, this guy probably didn't do it. He did just hijack another plane.
He did the other plane, which was cool.
And then he immediately lost that money.
Strong suspect.
Also, one thing I do want to say about the money laundering, his son, Rick, believes that his father laundered the money at Vegas on the way home. They searched for these bills in circulation in the weeks and months that followed. That would still be found. Those bills,
if it was laundered, yeah.
It would be found in circulation, so I don't know about that either. Suspect 3, Lieutenant Robert W. Rackstraw. In recent years, a new name has become a popular suspect. Following the release of the FBI letters, Colbert noticed codes on 2 of the letters. He enlisted former Army codebreaker Richard Sherman to decode the messages. Using a basic letter counting cryptography system, he became convinced there was a message hiding in the letters. I'm Lieutenant Robert W. Rackstraw.
That's what it said?
That's what they think.
That's what they think it said.
That's what they think it said.
That's pretty specific.
Well, I mean, this is like, in this particular case, like if this person's gonna leave behind a trail of clues that would be a code, the bounty would be, you know who DB Cooper is. So it would just be, I'm Lieutenant.
My thought is, why leave clues?
If you leave behind a little puzzle and then everybody has to try and decode it for years and decades, now all of a sudden you've left a lasting legacy.
But you haven't, because nobody knows who you are.
Until they find, I'm Lieutenant Robert W. Rackstraw.
Robert W. Rackstraw.
Digging into another letter, Sherman found Rackstraw's paratrooper military units. Some experts are dubious of Sherman's techniques, as Colbert had already believed Rackstraw to be Cooper, but they are not the only ones. Originally from San Diego, Rackstraw joined the 1st Cavalry Mobile Division in Vietnam in 1969, serving for 8 years. During this time, he was a helicopter pilot known to be a rule-breaking con artist. During his service, he received parachute training, scuba lessons, underwater demolition instructions, and classes on flying planes, piloting helicopters, and performing high-altitude, low-open commando drops. All skills Cooper used. A mere 5 months before Norjack, Rackstraw was kicked out of the Army for lying about his combat record. The FBI even said, quote, "It was entirely possible, even plausible. Rackstraw's documented anger was at least part of the motive for the hijacking of Northwest Flight 304, end quote. Throughout the 80s, Rackstraw committed a series of crimes, including check forging, stealing cars, identity theft, and selling explosives. While being held for stealing IDs in Stockton, the local police submitted him to the FBI. Examining Rackstraw's mugshot, the FBI identified 9 points of match between it and Cooper's composite, from their odd head shapes to their male pattern baldness. When the Stockton Record interviewed Rackstraw, they wrote he, quote, identifies with the spirit of DB Cooper, a person he says had challenged the legal system and beat it. The prisoner then oddly switched to the first person. I think I stand for the American people. I really do, end quote. Later, the Los Angeles Times asked him if he understood why he was being considered by the FBI. Rackstraw replied, quote, oh yes, if I was an investigator, definitely so. I wouldn't discount myself, or a person like myself, end quote. In 2015, Bill Mitchell provided the description that led to the infamous composite. Over the years, he had been presented with hundreds of pictures, but when shown 6 pictures, he pointed directly to Rackstraw. On February 9th, 2018, Rackstraw, now in his mid-70s, was asked to confirm or deny whether he was Cooper after his name came out in the code. His reply was, quote, there's no denial whatsoever, my dear, end quote. So what do you think of these 3 guys? What do you think of that, by the way? He pretty much just said, yeah, it be me.
Yeah, another perfectly plausible one. It's been a while since I trotted this out, but I gotta say, I think we just gotta let this one be a mystery. I'm perfectly content never knowing.
I want to know.
No, I don't want to know.
I want to know.
If any of these 3 guys did it, good for them. And if they didn't, then even more kudos to Mr. Cooper for eluding us all these years.
But if you had to pick one.
I don't think we can possibly do that.
You don't think he died?
Maybe. You know?
Despite being officially closed in 2016, the FBI has quietly been working behind the scenes to follow these new leads. With renewed interest, maybe we will soon see the case solved. Until then, what happened to Dan Cooper and his true identity will remain a mystery. There you have it. We still don't know who he is, though we do have a couple loose ends we need to tie up. Speaking of which, we're waiting for this tie to get delivered to see if Vince Peterson is in fact him. And Richard Floyd McCoy, we're waiting on a DNA test. And of course, we have Rackstraw, who said, "It is me."
A lot of people have said that over the years.
That's true, but he also, you know, his name was in a code. But we do have these two loops that have yet to be closed because the FBI be moving slow, or perhaps they've done it behind the scenes, figured it out, and been like, I'm not gonna tell you, nee nor nee nor nee.
8 more years, 2032.
We'll keep doing this until we die.
We hop back into the basement.
What do you think is gonna happen first? We die, or DB Cooper is figured out?
I don't think we'll ever know.
Well, I guess my favorite unsolved mystery will stay unsolved.
Oh. Oh,
Just kidding. I said it. I said that. No, but it's going to stay unsolved for at least the time being.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Can you grab a VHS and read a title?
This one says, I wonder what that's about.
Oh, we might have to cut that.